This boy, beaten by life and ignored by the world, carries more than just deliveries. He carries dreams. A young black boy with dreams as high as the sky, forced to bury them under the weight of society's prejudice. They pushed him down, ridiculed him, but who knew? One day, those same people would stand to salute him. This is the story of Aron, a journey of struggles, sacrifice, and an unthinkable transformation. Aron, a 19-year-old boy with a heart full of dreams, had always envisioned himself pursuing higher education after graduating high school. With a natural curiosity and a thirst for knowledge, he believed that college would be his gateway to a brighter future. However, life had other plans. In his small, close-knit neighborhood, Aron's family faced mounting financial struggles. His father, once the pillar of their household, had lost his job due to company layoffs. His mother worked long, grueling hours and multiple shifts just to keep food on the table. Despite their best efforts, the family could barely make ends meet. The societal attitude toward Aron's family only made matters worse. The neighbors, instead of offering support, cast judgment. Whispers filled the air. "They've always been unlucky," or "Why bother dreaming big? People like them don't get far." Aron felt the sting of these words every day as they eroded not just his family's dignity, but also his aspirations. When Aron expressed his desire to go to college, the responses were cruelly dismissive. Some acquaintances even laughed at the idea, saying, "You're only good for small jobs. You should focus on what's realistic." These words, drenched in prejudice, forced Aron to confront an unfair truth. The weight of his circumstances left no room for ambition. With his family struggling to pay bills, Aron realized he had no choice but to step up. His dream of college had to be put on hold. Reluctantly, he took up a job as a delivery boy, cycling through rain, heat, and the biting cold, delivering packages to make ends meet. What was once a life of hope now felt like a never-ending battle against societal bias and poverty. The beginning of Aron's journey was not what he had hoped for. The world saw him as nothing more than a delivery boy. But inside, Aron carried an unshakable determination, a quiet resolve to rise above the labels and prove his worth. Little did anyone know, this 19-year-old boy, who was forced to abandon his dreams, was about to embark on a journey that would shock the very people who doubted him. Aron's days as a delivery boy were grueling and unforgiving. From the moment he took on the job, he realized it wasn't just about delivering packages. It was about surviving the judgment and prejudice that followed him wherever he went. His uniform, a faded shirt with the company's logo, became a symbol of mockery in the eyes of others, and his old creaky bicycle often drew derisive smiles from passers-by. Every day, Aron faced a barrage of disrespectful customers who treated him as if he were invisible, or worse, beneath them. Some wouldn't bother acknowledging his presence, barely opening their doors before snatching their deliveries and slamming them shut. Others didn't hold back their cruel comments. "This is what happens when you don't try hard enough in life," or "I wouldn't want to be in your shoes." These words stung, but Aron swallowed his pride and pressed on, refusing to let their disdain break him. The working conditions were no less harsh. Aron's shift often stretched late into the night, leaving him exhausted and with little time to rest. Rain, scorching heat, or bitter cold. No matter the weather, he had to deliver. On stormy nights, he pedaled through streets slick with rain, his delivery bag soaking wet, making every trip more treacherous. The biting wind would sting his face, but Aron clenched his jaw and kept moving, knowing his family relied on every dollar he earned. One rainy evening, disaster struck. Aron was cycling through a poorly lit street, his bag weighed down by heavy packages, when his bicycle slipped on a slick patch of road. He fell hard, scraping his hands and knees on the wet asphalt. The pain shot through his body, and for a moment he lay there, staring up at the dark sky as rain poured over him. His delivery bag had spilled onto the ground, packages scattered around him. Aron gritted his teeth, pushed himself up, and gathered the parcels. Despite the sharp ache in his body and the sting of his injuries, he got back on his bicycle and finished his route. The physical toll was nothing compared to the emotional weight Aron carried. Night after night, he returned home drenched in rain or sweat, his hands blistered from gripping the handlebars. He would sit quietly in the corner of his small room, staring at his books, symbols of the education he had been forced to abandon. His eyes, though filled with pain, also held a flicker of hope and resilience. He didn't complain or seek pity. He simply endured, drawing strength from the belief that his story wasn't over yet. But endurance came with sacrifices. Aron missed out on the simple joys of youth, hanging out with friends, carefree days of laughter, and the freedom to dream without limits. He often wondered what his classmates were doing, imagining them sitting in college classrooms, chasing their aspirations. The thought of falling behind weighed heavily on him, but instead of letting it consume him, he used it as fuel to keep going. Through all the challenges, Aron held on to a singular focus, his dream of a better life. Whenever doubt crept in, he reminded himself of his family's sacrifices and his own determination to rise above his circumstances. He often whispered to himself late at night, "This is not forever. This is just a step." Aron's struggles as a delivery boy were not just physical, they were a test of his spirit. He was forced to confront a world that saw him as unworthy, yet he refused to believe it. Every package he delivered, every insult he endured, and every painful mile he cycled was shaping him into someone stronger. Aron's resolve remained unshaken, and though the road was long and hard, he kept his dream alive, unaware that destiny had something extraordinary in store for him. It was a cold, rainy night, and Aron was nearing the end of his shift. The streets were eerily quiet, with the occasional glow of street lights flickering through the darkness. Aron pedaled steadily, the sound of rain hitting his delivery bag matching the rhythm of his racing heart. His mind was focused on getting the last delivery of the day done so he could finally return home. Exhaustion clung to him like the dampness of his soaked clothes, but he kept moving forward. As Aron turned onto a narrow, deserted street, he noticed the faint glow of headlights up ahead. A military jeep was parked on the side of the road, and a tall figure in uniform stood beside it, looking around with visible frustration. Curious but cautious, Aron slowed down as he approached. The man, an army general dressed in a pristine uniform, waved him over. "Excuse me, son," the general said in a deep, authoritative voice. "I seem to have lost my way. I'm trying to find the address of a friend nearby, but the GPS isn't working in this weather." For a moment, Aron hesitated. He glanced at his watch, knowing that stopping to help would delay his delivery. His boss had been clear. Late deliveries meant penalties, and Aron could already feel the weight of the reprimand waiting for him if he didn't arrive on time. But something about the general's calm yet commanding presence made him pause. Aron couldn't bring himself to ignore someone in need, especially not a man who seemed to carry so much responsibility on his shoulders. Without a second thought, Aron nodded. "I'll help you find it, sir," he said, his voice steady despite the anxiety creeping in. He got off his bicycle, placed it against a nearby pole, and pulled out his phone to search for directions. The general, impressed by Aron's willingness to help despite the late hour and pouring rain, followed him as Aron began leading the way on foot. The journey took longer than Aron had anticipated. The address was in a secluded area, and the rain made it difficult to see clearly. By the time Aron had successfully guided the general to his destination, he knew he was in trouble. He thanked the general, politely declined an offer of a ride back, and rushed back to his bicycle. When Aron finally delivered the last package, it was far past the allotted time. The next morning, his boss berated him in front of the other workers, calling him irresponsible and imposing a heavy penalty on his already meager earnings. Aron bit his lip, swallowing his frustration, but inside he felt shattered. He had done the right thing by helping someone in need, yet it had cost him dearly. That night, Aron sat alone in his small room, his head in his hands. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to cry. The weight of his struggles felt unbearable, and for a brief moment, he wondered if he could keep going. But as dawn broke, Aron wiped his tears and resolved to push forward. He reminded himself that his sacrifices would one day pay off, even if it seemed impossible now. What Aron didn't know was that his selfless act hadn't gone unnoticed. The army general, deeply moved by Aron's character and determination, couldn't stop thinking about the young delivery boy who had gone out of his way to help a stranger despite his own struggles. The general decided to find Aron again, sensing that there was something extraordinary about the young man who had shown such kindness and integrity. This encounter marked the turning point in Aron's life. Though he didn't realize it yet, the seeds of his future were being planted, and the hardships he had endured were about to pave the way for a brighter, unimaginable destiny. A few days after their first encounter, Aron was at work, cycling through his usual delivery route, when a black SUV pulled up beside him. He glanced over, unsure if it was meant for him, but when the window rolled down, he immediately recognized the face of the army general he had helped that rainy night. The general smiled warmly and motioned for Aron to stop. "I see potential in you, young man." Huh? Aron was stunned, unsure why someone of such stature would go out of their way to find him. "I couldn't stop thinking about your determination that night. I see potential in you, young man. Something extraordinary. I want to help." Aron was taken aback. No one had ever believed in him, let alone someone so respected and accomplished. The general explained how he had been moved by Aron's selflessness and grit. He offered Aron a chance to pursue his education, covering all the financial expenses. But he didn't stop there. The general also extended an opportunity for Aron to train under a military program that could shape him into a disciplined and skilled individual. Initially, Aron hesitated. Could he really step into such a structured and demanding world? He had spent so long being told he wasn't capable, that his dreams were out of reach. But deep inside, Aron knew this was the chance he had been waiting for, a chance to prove everyone wrong and, more importantly, to prove to himself that he was worthy. With the general's encouragement, Aron enrolled in a rigorous educational and military training program. The first few months were grueling. The physical challenges pushed his body to its limits, and the mental discipline required was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Early mornings began with intense drills, and long evenings were spent poring over textbooks and learning military strategies. Aron often felt like giving up, but every time he felt doubt creeping in, he remembered his family, his struggles, and the trust the general had placed in him. Slowly but surely, Aron began to transform. His once timid demeanor was replaced by a newfound confidence. The bruises and scars from his delivery job became symbols of resilience, reminders of how far he had come. His body grew stronger, his mind sharper, and his heart more determined than ever. The other recruits noticed his unwavering focus and began to look up to him. Aron became a quiet leader, inspiring those around him with his perseverance and humility. The general continued to support Aron, not just financially, but emotionally as well. He became a mentor, offering guidance and sharing lessons from his own life. Aron, for the first time, felt like someone genuinely believed in his potential. This support ignited a fire within him, pushing him to strive for excellence in everything he did. As Aron excelled in his training, he also began to reflect on the journey that had brought him to this point. The hardships he had faced as a delivery boy were no longer weights dragging him down. They were the very foundation of his strength. He realized that every struggle had prepared him for this moment, teaching him resilience, discipline, and empathy. Aron's transformation wasn't just physical. It was emotional and mental as well. He learned to silence the voices of doubt, replacing them with a belief in his own capabilities. The boy who once delivered packages under pouring rain was now a disciplined soldier, standing tall with pride and purpose. Aron's journey didn't go unnoticed. His peers admired his work ethic, and his instructors often pointed to him as an example of what could be achieved with determination and heart. Aron's story began to spread, inspiring others who felt trapped by their circumstances. He became a symbol of hope, proof that even the toughest situations could be overcome with perseverance and support. Through the unwavering guidance of the general and his own relentless effort, Aron had completely transformed. What began as a chance encounter on a rainy night had blossomed into an incredible journey of growth and self-discovery. Aron was no longer just a boy with dreams. He was a man turning those dreams into reality, one step at a time. 5 years had passed since Aron's life took a dramatic turn, and the boy who once pedaled through rain-soaked streets delivering packages was now returning home as a man transformed. Dressed in his immaculate U.S. Army veteran uniform, adorned with medals that told the story of his courage and accomplishments, Aron walked through his old neighborhood with his head held high. The streets, once a reminder of his struggles and humiliation, now seemed different. Children playing on the sidewalks paused to stare in awe as Aron passed by. Adults who had once ridiculed and dismissed him stood frozen, their expressions a mix of shock, admiration, and perhaps guilt. The same neighbors who had whispered behind his back and mocked his delivery job now stepped forward, one by one, to acknowledge him with respect. As Aron walked, people began to gather. Some clapped, others saluted, and a few even apologized for their past behavior. Aron's heart swelled with emotion, but he maintained his composure, offering a humble smile to those around him. He didn't carry bitterness or resentment. He didn't need to. His achievement spoke louder than any words ever could. Aron knew that his success was not just a personal victory, but a triumph over the prejudice and doubt that had once tried to define him. One particularly moving moment came when an elderly man who had often mocked Aron's delivery job stepped forward. The man, with tears in his eyes, saluted Aron and said, "I misjudged you. I see now how wrong I was. You've made us all proud." Aron nodded, and offering a handshake, his humility leaving an indelible mark on everyone watching. The applause grew louder as Aron reached the center of the neighborhood. He looked around, seeing familiar faces that now wore expressions of admiration rather than disdain. The transformation was not just in him. It was in the people who had once doubted him. Aron's resilience had forced them to confront their own prejudices, and in doing so they had come to respect the man he had become. Though the attention was overwhelming, Aron's mind drifted back to the journey that had brought him here. He thought about the countless nights he had spent delivering packages under harsh conditions, the pain of disrespect and rejection, and the pivotal moment when the Army general had entered his life. He thought of the rigorous training, the battles he had fought, both on and off the field, and the unwavering support that had helped him reach this point. Every step, every struggle had been worth it. As the crowd around him grew, Aron paused and turned to face them. He saluted back to those who saluted him, a gesture of respect that left many in tears. For a brief moment, the entire street fell silent, the weight of the moment sinking in. Aron, the boy they had once underestimated, had returned as a hero. In that moment, Aron wasn't just a symbol of success. He was a testament to resilience and determination. His story wasn't just about rising above adversity. It was about redefining what was possible when someone refuses to give up. Aron's return to his neighborhood was more than a homecoming. It was a statement that no amount of prejudice, hardship, or doubt could hold back a person determined to rise. As Aron continued walking down the street, the crowd followed, their cheers echoing in the background. He glanced up at the sky, silently thanking the forces that had guided him through his journey. The boy who had once been mocked and overlooked was now a man admired and respected, not just by his neighborhood, but by everyone who knew his story. Aron's triumph was complete, and his journey would inspire generations to come. As Aron walked away from the crowd, the echoes of their applause still ringing in his ears, his story played out like a vivid dream. The boy who once braved storms on his bicycle, delivering packages while enduring the weight of society's judgment, had risen to become a man respected by all. His journey was far more than just a personal triumph. It was a lesson for everyone who had ever doubted the potential of someone struggling against the odds. The narration begins. Tough times create tough men. Aron's life is a testament to this truth, a journey forged through resilience, courage, and an unshakable determination to rise above adversity. The screen flashes back to key moments of Aron's life. Images of him pedaling through heavy rain, his hands blistered and his heart heavy, are contrasted with scenes of him sitting in a military classroom, focused and determined. Shots of his transformation into a soldier in training, enduring physical and mental challenges, lead to his proud return as a decorated U.S. Army veteran. Each moment underscores the unrelenting spirit that drove him forward. The narration continues. Aron's story is more than one of personal success. It is a call to action, a call to break the chains of prejudice, to look beyond appearances, and to see the potential in every human being. In a world quick to judge, Aron chose to persevere, proving that even the toughest challenges can be overcome with determination and hope. The scene fades to Aron, standing at a distance, looking over the neighborhood he once called home. His medals glint in the sunlight, a quiet reminder of his extraordinary journey. The camera pans to the faces of the people around him, no longer mocking, but filled with admiration and inspiration. The narration concludes. Aron is not just a hero, he is a symbol of hope. His story reminds us all to believe in our dreams, no matter how far away they may seem. For in the end, it is not the struggles that define us, but how we choose to rise above them. The final shot shows Aron walking away, his silhouette fading into the horizon, as the words appear on the screen. Tough times create tough men. Break your prejudices. Embrace humanity. With that, Aron's story leaves an indelible mark, a legacy of perseverance and hope that will inspire countless others to believe in the power of their own potential.